Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Colorism Conversations. I'm Dr. Karen Moore, founder of I Am the Color of Beautiful Global Spoken Word Initiative and Movement, where we are redefining the standard of beauty for women of color. And our focus is on eradicating colorism in communities of color across the globe. We had a little technical difficulty there, but we got it worked out and we are live. And I'm so excited for today's show. We're talking about a subject that is very important in our lives as consumers of media. And so today we're going to be talking about Hollywood and its colorism in casting. And it's a very interesting subject to talk about and to get different perspectives on. So I'm so glad to have once again here with me my sister Renee Moore, who is the Color of Beautiful's Public Health Advisory. Hey, beautiful.
Hey, beautiful. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you.
Great. So I'm really excited to have this conversation today. And I know that we've been doing a lot of hi, Facebook user. I don't know your name. You have to allow us permission to see your name, but thank you for joining us. So I'm so excited to have this conversation today because as a person who the arts are so very near and dear to me, that it's so important that we have these conversations about what is happening in Hollywood and what's going on with Hollywood. And we were just discussing before coming on about someone wrote an article about the Golden Globes this year about really kind of ignoring so many of the Black shows that talk about the Black experience. And so, it is so important that we have these conversations, that we begin to really look deeply and begin to hold the powers that be accountable for their decisions in casting, as well as for their not acknowledging the Black experience on film and on television and even in the theater, which is personally, that's my thing, the theater. But we've got to begin to hold the powers that be, the mainstream, responsible for their lack of acknowledging the Black experience.
Right. And the thing I think that is imperative that they understand is that the Black experience is varied because there are so many different hues of Black. Everybody's experience is different. So you can't have just one person and say, we covered the Black experience.
Right.
Because I walk through the world differently than you walk through the world.
Right.
Because your experience in the same exact space is a different experience than my experience.
Right.
So it's important to recognize not only the Black experience as a whole, but the variations in that experience as well.
Absolutely. And so we're going to talk about specifically some of the recent casting that was done. And we're going to talk about one that ended up being very, very, very controversial that we'll talk about. But the first one we're going to talk about, and I'm going to put it up on the screen, is The Hate U Give, which was, I have the book. I have not read the book yet. I actually have an autographed copy of the book, which I haven't read yet, but I did see the movie. And so this is The Hate U Give. On the left is the book cover, and on the right is the movie poster.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the issues was that, in particularly, the book describes the character as being medium brown skin. However, a light skin actress was cast as the star. And a lot of that people believe is because there's this whole issue about what the public wants and what the public wants to see, when you are, however, ignoring the very fabric of who the character is. Because in the experience, in the hate you give, and we talked about this before we even came on, is that even though the character, what she experienced and her friend being killed, it still is a different perspective based on many times the color, the particular hue of your skin about what that experience is.
Right. And it's also sometimes even the difficulty that she had at school oftentimes um,
Yes.
is a different experience based on the color of your skin. And I do want to give this caveat here that it's not that we're saying these actresses can't act, because they're great actresses. They played the role. We're not disputing their ability to act.
Right.
What I feel it just kind of, and we even talked about this a little bit before, is that it's a matter of really authentically capturing the experience, so that when people go into the movie theater and they can really identify with a lot of what the person is actually going through
Hmm.
based on how they see the world, based on their experience in that space because of their color.
Right. Right. And I think that is so important that we begin to acknowledge that the experience is different.
Yeah.
And when we look at it and begin to understand that it is a different experience. And even though, we want to, we say that, we're all Black, the experience is still nonetheless different. How you experience things, how you particularly walk through the world, how you see things, how people view you, it's a very different experience. And people, I think a lot of people don't really believe that to be true, but it is very much so a different experience.
That's true. And a lot of people, even of color, don't believe it to be true.
Exactly.
Um, and
Exactly.
so and it's even more difficult, I think, when, like, I have, as a light skinned person, have been discriminated against because of the color of my skin. So I think that people are like, well, you're discriminated against, you're discriminated against. But there are other spaces where I may have been favored
Hmm.
because I wasn't as dark as
Right.
anyone else.
Right.
So it's still a different experience the way you walk through the world. And,
Right.
from a public health standpoint, it's important that we see, when we go into spaces where people are being um, portrayed, it's important from a public health standpoint to see yourself, to see that,
Right.
and to be valid. Not that you're looking to others for validation, but it is something that happens in life, to be validated on the big screen, to be the most, to be the love interest, to be the,
Mhm.
the hero, to be, to have your someone really understand what it is like to go through the world as you.
Right.
And so it helps with your self-esteem. It helps with your, um, especially for young children as they're growing and developing and seeing, yes, there's other people like me who can do this. There's other people like me who feel this way or have experienced this. Or, when you go to
Exactly.
the theater, and you can really say, yes, I get that. That
Right.
person understands me. That person gets me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, the next one we're going to talk about is the character Storm, which I am not. I believe that Divergent. I have to check that. I'm not sure if Divergent is Marvel or what, but anyway. So the character Storm, as we can see here in the picture, is a dark skinned woman. But when they did the movie, they cast a light skinned actress as Storm for the Divergent movie. And it's interesting because when we talk about superheroes and things like that, being able to, like you said, as as young girls, or even as women, to see superheroes that look like you is so very important to us. And it is, when you move away from how the character was formed in the storyline in the comic, and you come and you bring it on screen, and she looks totally different, we have to begin to look at how does that affect women and girls when you have completely changed the look of the character for the movie.
Mm, right. Yeah. That's an important question. I mean, how so does it make you feel like something's wrong with the way it was originally portrayed? Because, you know, now we have to change up. And so it's an interesting question as to why they felt and that they had to change this person up to make that character into a movie figure. Is it, you know, I, there are plenty of black actresses out there that complexion. They could play that,
Exactly.
and there's no need to darken with makeup, and there's no need to. So, is it that you feel that, as it, in general, this is going to be more acceptable? More acceptable to who?
And I think that, um, like this, one of our viewers is saying, it's important for your experience to be validated. That's very important. But I think too that many times Hollywood, possibly, I'm not in Hollywood, so I can't say for sure. But I think a lot of times for Hollywood, it's just a matter of, we've put a black actress here, and so we're being diverse. It doesn't really matter whether or not she's light skinned or dark skinned, and we don't have to really conform to who the real character is, as much as we are saying that we're diverse because we've put a black actress or an actress of color in this part. Now, it's very interesting to me, though, because if you're going to do it based on who the character has been throughout time, and again, I'm not that familiar with the Divergent series. I understand too that there was another character that was played by Zendaya that was also a darker skinned character in this Divergent series. So I think that it becomes an issue of, do you think that people are not going to come see the film because you're putting a darker skinned actress in this role? Do you not understand the validity of making sure that the character is as close to the character in the book? It would be interesting to really understand what these casting directors are really thinking about when they do this casting, because if somebody shows you a picture of, this is who the character is, this is what the character looks like, but you go totally opposite, it would just be interesting to know what's in their mind when they do that kind of thing.
Well, I mean, I of course we don't know,
No,
but I
we
think
have an idea, but
that part of it too just goes down to, and I don't know whether it's intentional or just kind of ignorance, but I think it's just a lack of respect for Black culture. And once again, going back to understanding that, you know, you you can't, one person doesn't represent the entire Black community.
right.
And that, once again, when you present yourself to the world, people look at you based on your skin color, your hair texture, the shape of your nose, and so it's a completely different experience. And I don't think that they really get that every shade of brown has a different experience.
But they would not
And
know
you
that.
can't,
This
you
is where
can't,
it comes for us.
so this is where, getting a more diverse staff in your office to say, you know what, this character is dark skinned. You need to have this person represented not by a light skinned person with dark makeup, but by a dark skinned person who's true to this character, because that just holds in the validity of the character. And
Right.
it encourages, and it's uplifting to other people to see that, hey, you know what, not every, it's that whole thing with the, but you want to but you don't have any problem casting a dark skinned person as ghetto girl number 3.
Right. But see, and they're not really concerned about whether or not we're uplifted. I hate to say it, but they're not. They're more concerned with that bottom line of dollars, I think. And I think that
I don't know if it's dollars or,
with whether
and
or not people are going to whether or not people are going to come to the film, first of all, because really it's really about the bottom line. It's about the dollar. And when they do these movies, it's of course about getting people into the theater to see the movies. And until you value the beauty and worth of darker skinned women, you really aren't going to really care about whether or not darker skinned women are uplifted, or whether or not they see themselves on screen, or whether or not there is there is any kind of recognition as to who we are as dark skinned women. I don't believe that Hollywood is at all caring or interested in that, which is one of the reasons why we have to, first of all, we have to speak up about it. And second of all, it's to a place where, and I know that there are a lot of people out there are independent filmmakers who are making movies about the Black experience, and they are being true to our stories, because, and it's not just about being true to the dark skinned woman's story, but the dark skinned woman's story is very different than anybody else's story. And first of all, until we want to even acknowledge that, before we've got to get to a place where we acknowledge that, and then we have to call on Hollywood to begin to acknowledge that there's a difference.
oh yeah, definitely.
There's a difference, and I don't think that they are all that knowledgeable or concerned with how, whether or not we see ourselves on screen, and how important it is to tell the story from the character's place of where they are as being a dark-skinned woman.
Right. And a lot of that, once again, like I say, goes back to diversity in your staff. When you have
Yeah.
the people who are doing the casting, you need a diverse casting company that can say, it's important to hold true to what's true.
Right. So even if we talk about, and we've talked about this before when we had Chica on the show, and we talked about the casting call for Straight Outta Compton.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I didn't see the movie. I wasn't. I'm not a rap. That's not my thing. I'm not in that age group. Though there are some people my age who like rap. Let me not say that. That's not my thing. Okay. So I didn't see the movie. Had no interest in seeing the movie, but it was very interesting to me about this whole issue of the Straight Outta Compton casting call. And so I'm gonna read to you all what the casting call was for Straight Outta Compton. And this goes once again to showing the mindset of people who are in charge of casting for many of these movies. So that it was the A girls. The A girls, these are the hottest of the hots. Models must have real hair, no extensions, very classy looking, great bodies. You can be Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, Mid-Eastern, or mixed race, age 18 to 30. And so you had to email your stuff. Anyway, so the B girls, these are fine girls, long natural hair, really nice bodies, small waists, nice hips. You should be light skinned.
Mm-hmm.
Now, these are the fine girls. You should be light skinned. Beyonce is a prototype here. It's interesting that, because one of the things that Chica said was Beyonce wasn't even an A girl, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, I don't know that Beyonce's waist is all that small, but they used her as a prototype. And I'm not sure if Beyonce's long hair is natural, but okay. Anyway, Beyonce was the prototype for the B girls. Then there were the C girls. These are the African American girls, medium to light skin, with a weave, age 18 to 30. And then we have the D girls. These are African American girls, poor, not in good shape, medium to dark skin tone.
Okay, so there's a problem with that, right? So right away, you're going to say you're poor and you're dark skin. Let's start there. Okay, I mean, aside from the fact that you're a D girl, why does poor represent dark skin? Why does poor represent out of shape? Why does dark skin represent out of shape? So right there, I mean, that's just multiple layers of disrespect. Not only are you not, you're a D, which in any system is a failing grade. So you're a failure, you're poor, and you're out of shape, and you're dark skinned.
And this is how dark skinned women are being are being looked at for casting. Unless you happen to be, and though even Viola Davis has constantly talked about the difficulties even she has had as a dark-skinned woman in Hollywood. She's talked many times about, you know, the inability to have parts that really she will be considered for. You know, she said in one interview, "Why can't I be the love interest?"
That's it.
You know, why not? But aside from the Viola Davises and the, you know, the Octavia Spencers and you know, the Kerry Washingtons and these, you know, aside from that, you're talking about this is how casting is looked at in regard to dark-skinned Black women.
In a lot of
As
instances.
extras in the film, if you don't happen to be a Viola Davis or an Octavia Spencer or a Kerry Washington, this is how you're looked at being cast as an extra even.
Right. And so I'm sure there are hundreds of actresses out there who are dark skinned who are phenomenal actresses.
Phenomenal.
But will have to scrape and fight and may never get to be the lead or get to the level of Viola Davis or Kerry Washington because they're automatically disqualified for a lot of roles just because of the color of their skin. And a lot of it, you know, I don't understand why we feel that we have to change people to make them acceptable. Because that's basically what you're saying to people is there's this dark skin and that's, you know, okay in a book. But when we really want to put that picture out there, you need to change everything about yourself.
Right.
You need to change your hair type. You need to change the color of your skin and you need to change the shape of your nose.
Right. But the whole thing, I think, too, with Hollywood and the glamour and the glitz and the what beauty is, Hollywood still does not want to acknowledge the real beauty and the talent and the value many times of Black actresses, period, but especially darker skinned Black actresses. Mm-hmm. It's about that whole issue. And it goes back to, again, that whole issue of beauty and what's beautiful. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the beautiful people and who are the beautiful people. when, and they're constantly sending that message that the beautiful people don't look like me. I'm not who the beautiful people are.
Right.
And you're sending that message to dark-skinned women. You're sending that message to dark-skinned girls. I like to say, and I've started even getting away from using dark skin because of the negative connotation. I like to say deeply melanated. Deeply melanated women.
Yeah. But even those women, and even the interesting thing about it is, I mean, she wasn't a in Hollywood per se, but even the Miss, was it World, the one from South Africa? Right. She was even told, she was in, people were looking at her like, well, you're not so beautiful. Well, why not?
And she's gorgeous. She's absolutely
gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Lupita Nyong'o, absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So, they pick and choose one or two.
But I have to say that the actress from The Hate U Give, Amandla Stenberg, she actually was auditioned for Black Panther, and then she pulled out because she said there are some places I don't feel I should take up space.
And like I say, it has nothing to do with, we're not bashing any light skinned actresses.
Right.
I mean,
not at all.
They're phenomenal actresses. They, have played the parts, but it's more a matter of giving them parts that weren't designed for them and changing that, which makes me feel like you're saying, like I said, before, you're good enough in a book, you're good enough in a comic, but when it comes to a picture that's going to be shown throughout the world and all over the place, you need to change some things because you're just not quite there.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about the very controversial Nina Simone film. And, I'm not quite sure why anyone would think that it would really be okay for a light-skinned actress to play Nina Simone. Because, Nina Simone's, a lot of her work was it was centered on her marginalization as a dark-skinned Black woman in America. That was a lot of Nina Simone's work was around that. And eventually, Zoe Saldana, who played Nina Simone, eventually, she did apologize, for taking the role and playing the role. She said, actually, in an interview, she said, I thought back then that I had permission because I was a Black woman, and I am, but it was Nina Simone, and Nina had a life, and she had a journey that should be honored to the most specific detail because she was a specifically detailed individual. And this here is the Nina Simone on the left, and that's Zoe Saldana on the right with her skin darkened and a prosthetic nose in order for her to portray Nina Simone. And again, why? I don't know how this casting particularly took place, but I don't understand why. Really, if you really want to tell Nina Simone's story, why you would not cast a dark skin, and there's plenty of dark skin actresses that could have done it. Plenty of actresses who could have done it. But you chose to go a whole different direction. And to me, it's almost as if you just totally ignored that part of her journey. And that part of her journey was very much who she was.
Right.
So you just totally disregarded
But I
that
think
part of her journey by having someone who would not have journeyed through the world the same way she had to. That was just total disregard for her story and for her journey.
right. But so I think that they don't really see it that way, because they're looking at the fact that you're an actress playing a role, and if you're an actress playing a role, you should be able to play anything and anybody.
No,
Which,
you're not going to ask a Black actress to play a Jewish role?
no, but I'm saying, I mean, but
You think, oh, you should be able to play any role, so you can play this role of a Jewish woman. I don't know what it's like to be a Jewish woman.
but to act, you don't really necessarily have to know what it's like. However, if there is
Telling
someone,
somebody's story, you do.
well, I mean, so they do research. I mean, not everybody that plays a role it has gone through that experience. So that's why they do their research and they whatever. But my point being that if there is somebody that can do that and has gone through that experience, it's far more authentic than having to completely change somebody's skin color to make them play that role. And I think that once again, a lot of it goes to not only the fact that, well, you're an actress, so you should be able to play any role, but you're Black. So it's the Black experience. And it's totally missing the point that there's differences in the Black experience. And there's differences because we're such a diverse group of people. Not only is there a difference in my Black experience and your Black experience, but there's difference in the Black experience of someone who's mixed. Because if you're half, one of those actresses is half Danish, so her life experience is different than my life experience, is different than your life experience. And so once again, it goes to that grouping us all in there together. Well, you're all Black, so you have the same experience. No, we don't.
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
But I would think by this time Hollywood would know that and understand that by this time. Though they probably, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say they probably do know, but it's not really. I don't want to specifically say they don't care, but I want to say that I don't believe that it is important. It's not important to them in the telling of the story.
And I think
part of our experience is not. It's not at the forefront. And this is another reason why I say we need to tell our own stories. We shouldn't be leaving it up to Hollywood to tell our stories. And if Hollywood does decide that they want to tell our stories, that, like you say, there needs to be someone who is close enough to the project, who is a person of color, to say, okay, you want to tell this person's story, but let me explain to you that because it's just like you said. Now, when Halle Berry played Dorothy Dandridge, that was a very close, it was a very close casting, okay? Because Halle Berry, Dorothy Dandridge being a light-skinned woman, even what she had to go through, Halle Berry could portray that, and she did an excellent job. Halle Berry could portray that, but you would not have expected anybody to cast Viola Davis as Dorothy Dandridge.
That's true.
Okay, so and nobody would have done that.
But a lot of it is historical.
Done that. Okay, so when you start talking about our experiences and telling our stories, you have to come fairly close to you have to understand that when you tell, it's like you said, because I think though, even when you start talking about other cultures, because colorism in and of itself is not just in the Black community. Colorism is in the Asian community, it's in the Hispanic community, it's in the Latina community, it's in all of those communities. So understanding the fact that there's a difference in how darker skinned people navigate the experience and walk through the world differently than people who are of the same culture but have a lighter skin.
Right. So they have that
It's a
same
matter
problem
of
in
beginning
Bollywood.
to, hold Hollywood accountable for how they're telling our stories.
But they have the same.
Just being like, you know what? We still, and I still believe this very, very, I still seriously really believe that we as a people, and I'm talking about right now, Black, those who identify as Black and African American, we still do not understand the value of our dollar. And the fact that if we do not go to these movies, if we do not, and I mean, it could be even as radical as saying, I'm not going to have Netflix subscriptions. I'm not going to have Hulu subscriptions. And I know that's going way off because some people would just really not know what to do without their Netflix subscription. But we're not going to give our money to these places. Though Netflix, I think that Netflix in some instances does a fairly good job with having films that tell the Black experience.
Mhm.
I'm saying that kind of I'm saying that they loosely because Netflix had Ma Rainey's Black Bottom and they had Judas and the Black Messiah was HBO. But anyway, so I think we've got to begin to hold these various platforms accountable for having films and doing films and presenting films that represent the Black experience in all facets of it, the people of color experience in all facets of it. Because if you hear Indian people will say even how in India that when it comes to Bollywood, it's all about the lighter the skin. Those are the people that are in the Indian movies, the light skinned people.
Mm.
The dark skinned people are not cast in those those high profile roles in films. And so until we start really holding Hollywood accountable and Bollywood accountable and everybody else accountable for what you are doing, we're not going to see any change take place. And it takes place with us exercising our dollar power.
Right. And, it's a process because it's a history. I mean, when you go back in history, looking at films from in the 20s and 30s and 40s, those actresses that were in semi-lead roles were light skinned. And it was always the dark skinned woman who was the maid or, whatever else role they could find for them.
Yeah.
So it's a historical thing. So history is, we've got to work on changing that because it's just been so ingrained in the Hollywood industry
Right.
for decades.
Right.
That it's going to take time to change. And we do need to acknowledge, like you say, the things that they do that are right. But we also need to acknowledge and say, hey, you totally missed the mark and we're not supporting that.
Right.
And like I said, it goes a lot back to having diversity in every phase and aspect of that movie process so that
absolutely
we can have representation in the room.
Absolutely. And we've got to support the films that tell our stories and tell our stories authentically and not just casting anybody in roles that now if it's just though we still want to see more darker skinned actresses on the screen and again,
I think it's hard because there's not
away from the light skinned actresses that get the roles because we want to see more Black actresses and actors period
right
on screen.
Yeah.
but in particularly when you are telling certain stories and you are talking about specific things historically, then you need to get it right.
Yeah.
And they need to be held accountable when they don't get it right.
And they also need to be, accountable for not selecting somebody for a role that it doesn't matter whether you're light or dark, but you're not being selected because you're dark.
Right.
you know and that, like I say, it doesn't take anything away from anybody's acting ability. If you lose the job because you're just not the right fit for some other reason, or you lose a job because the other person just really acted their behind off and it just wasn't you, that's one thing. But to lose the job because of the color of your skin, or not to even be offered the opportunity because of the color of your skin, is wrong. And
Right.
it needs to stop. And then, like you say, when you're telling historical stories, you're telling something about our experience. That needs to be as authentic as possible.
Hmm. Absolutely. And it's interesting because I'm going to mention this one last one. There was an article in the Grio, February 16th. And it says, Coming to America is a cult classic, and audiences are ecstatic that a sequel is on the horizon. But now Vanessa Bell Calloway, who starred in the 1988 film, is making a stunning revelation that she believes colorism played a part in her not landing the lead female role. Monday, while speaking with Page Six, the Hollywood veteran shared her long-held belief that colorism played a heavy hand in why she auditioned for the role of Eddie Murphy's love interest, but instead was tasked with barking like a dog while hopping on one knee. When you
Mm.
have white people hiring black people in movies, sometimes a certain look is wanted, said Calloway, pointing out that she got the impression that when it came to leading lady, executives wanted a light-skinned girl. I just wasn't light enough, she said, even though Eddie had the final say on who played Lisa. That's a whole nother story. To Calloway's credit, her scene-stealing performance still made her stand out in the film and has arguably made her just as much of a fan favorite as Shari Headley, the actress who ultimately landed the role. But that still didn't stop the actress from recognizing what was at play.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it was the idea that those executives and Eddie Murphy wanted a light-skinned leading lady.
So what do you say? I mean, and why is that? In a movie like that, did it make a difference? As long as you're a good actress and you can hold down the part, does it make a difference? Since it's not based on a true story, does it make a difference whether you're light or dark?
To me, for Coming to America, yes, in the sense that you start out in Africa, and this beautiful African woman who you are betrothed to marry is
Oh,
jumping
I'm
down,
sorry.
barking
No,
like a dog.
I apologize because I don't remember the movie that well. I thought she was a love interest in America. She
No,
was. Oh, okay. So, well, that makes a difference. Then you're
she was
right.
the love interest. She was who he was betrothed to.
Oh, okay.
Africa. He comes
Gotcha.
to America because, if I can remember correctly, he said he wanted to go explore or whatever, and he decided Queens was where he was going to find his queen. So he comes to America, and so the queen that he found was light skinned, and even in America, even here in the American scene, the light skinned woman that he chooses has a dark skinned sister, and the dark skinned sister is portrayed as kind of like the typical, way dark skinned sometimes actresses are portrayed. She's hypersexualized, and she's
Mm,
this with the head and she's all of that.
mm,
So it did make a difference, at least to me,
mhm,
in the sense that, the girl, the woman that was in Africa, dark skin, beautiful African woman. But when he gets to America, he wants the light-skinned girl.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
So again, it's back to that idea that what's African, and I might be reading too much into it. I mean, it was a comedy, but still, if we're going to talk about colorism and Vanessa Bell Calloway saying she wasn't cast as the love interest, she wasn't cast as the lead love interest when that was the part she went through. Instead, she was given the part of jumping up and down, barking like a dog, the African girl. But when he gets to America, see, he wants this light-skinned girl. Who, so you're kind of saying that even though that they did show African royalty and the royalty of Africa to an extent, it still was the idea that what was there in Africa for him, he didn't want that. He came to America, and what he found in America was the light-skinned girl.
Which leads into your whole thing of, if that's truly the case, then that's why there's so much skin bleaching in Africa. Because these light-skinned women are being seen as more desirable and more favorable and more beautiful. And so now just in a lot of instances, if you're looking at it, it's just perpetrating that.
Right.
And once again, not only is colorism a public health problem, but now you've got a public health problem leading to another public health problem.
Exactly. Exactly. And so we have to, as women of color, as people of color, we have to begin to require that this narrative is changed. Not only by telling our own stories, which to me is what we need to be doing now, of course, however, there's issues, independent filmmakers will tell you that it's not as easy as it sounds, but we need to be telling our own stories. And we need to, if Hollywood or the mainstream is going to tell our stories, we need to begin to make sure that they know and they understand that if you're going to tell our stories, that you need to tell them from a perspective that talks about the journey of the character based on what they really do experience in the world, especially if you're talking about stories that are of people that really, when you're telling biographical stories.
And not only that, but you also have to be telling stories that represent who we really are.
Yes.
Not every dark-skinned person is ghetto girl number 3.
Right.
Okay. We have, right there, this whole month has just been so fascinating for me because it's Black History Month, and I've been highlighting, you've been highlighting on your thing, on your Instagram and your Facebook, Black women who've been doing things. And from the gamut, from microbiologists to judges to chemists to explorers to athletes and a lot of those women that you've been highlighting are darker skinned women.
Yes.
Okay, so stop casting us as ghetto girl number 3.
Right.
Stop casting, not every light-skinned girl is, at some prep school with, being Miss Cutesy Pie and stuck up. And not every dark-skinned girl is, over-sexualized, loud and rowdy and rambunctious.
Right.
Cast us as there's a wide variety of people that we are. So stop pigeonholing us into what you think we are.
Right. Right.
There's nothing, and there's nothing wrong with showing us as doctors and lawyers and pilots and whatever else it is that we're out there doing. Black girls rock, okay?
Yes, we do.
We are doing so many different things.
Colors and hues.
That's right. We are doing so many different things. We're YouTube spy plane pilots, and we're, we got it going on. We're not all, doing those things that you have decided that guess that's what they all do, and that's how we're going to show them. That's not the authentic us.
And we have to be one of the other articles that I was reading, and I get Google alerts on colorism, and it's interesting because some of the stuff that comes up, I'm like, I don't even want to even talk about that. But it was interesting though, because there was an article that came up and talked about one of these reality shows. I want to say it's.
Don't get me started on reality show.
I know. The one anyway. I think it's the Housewives of Atlanta or so. I don't know. Whichever one. Shaquille. What is it? Shaquille O'Neal. Oh my gosh. Shaquille O'Neal's ex-wife, Shawnee O'Neal. Whatever show she is on. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting because they were saying that there have been issues of colorism coming up in some of these reality shows. People talking about it. But I was impressed with her for the fact that she said, we've got to do better. We have to stop being at each other's throats and demeaning each other and putting each other down. She said, we've got to do better.
Yeah.
And that is so true of all of us. We have to do better. It is up to us to, first of all, decide that we are going to acknowledge the beauty of all of us. Mm-hmm. And that it's important that, because that's always one of my greetings is I say, hey, beautiful, because I want women to understand that you are beautiful. Yeah. We're not leaving it up to, and I say this constantly, we're not leaving it up to Hollywood. We're not leaving it up to magazines. We're not leaving it up to television to decide for us what is beautiful. Mm. We are going to acknowledge all of us as being beautiful, all of us as being valuable, all of us as being worthy. And that's why so much of my platform is about colorism with civility, because we've got to be good to each other. And we have to do better. We have to stop with all this. And I was sharing with Sir Rivers the other day. I was talking with Sir Dr. Clyde Rivers, and I shared with him that, when you really look at it, it boils down to difference over some melanin, mm-hmm. Which when you look at it that way, it just sounds crazy. Mm-hmm. Over some melanin, we've decided certain things because somebody has more melanin in their skin than somebody else. And it's just when you say it like that, it just sounds ridiculous.
It does.
To be honest, it sounds ridiculous to be at each other, to be divisive over some melanin. The question needs to be, who are you as a person? Because it don't matter whether you're light skin, dark skin, black, white, blue, green, pink. If you are an evil person,
you're an evil person.
That's where we need to begin to really look and see, what kind of person are you? Martin Luther King said it. I want my children to be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And so if we can get past melanin, for crying out loud, maybe we could get some stuff done.
Yeah.
That's my rant for the last few minutes of this show. We get past being, upset and judging people over some melanin. Maybe we could really get some stuff done.
And I think that, it comes down to a lot of, I was listening to a minister today, and he talked about this competition thing. Why are we all in competition with each other? There's no need for me to be in competition with you. So if I'm not in competition with you, then I'm not looking for reasons to make you feel less than you are, or to make me feel better than I am. And so I've decided, okay, well, I'm in competition for attention. So, people that don't look like me are a threat to me. So I'm going to try and make them feel as bad about themselves as I can, and so I can feel as good about myself as I can. It's not a competition, people. There's room for all of us.
Right. And if we could understand that all of this divisiveness was the plan from the beginning. Mm-hmm. we as a people we were set up to be divided.
Yeah.
You know, we've talked on this show about the slave owner Willie Lynch and how he told other slave owners about how to divide the slaves so that they had this division and they would not come together, and because that was going to be a problem. You know, if they all, which we still say to this day, if all Black people could get on the same page, oh my God, what we could do. But okay, that's a discussion for another show. But you know, it was all built. Our whole history in this country was built on us being divisive, us being divided.
Yeah.
And we still are falling into that whole mentality of being divided.
And when you're divided, you're in trouble. You lose more than you gain by being divided.
Absolutely.
And you begin to really disrespect each other.
Yeah.
And not honor the fact that, you know, we're all beautiful in our own way, and we all deserve to be represented and to be validated.
Absolutely.
And for our story to be told, and told authentically.
Yes. Yes. And so there are so many independent filmmakers and theater producers and artists who are making that happen. Yeah. And they need to be supported.
They do.
Let's just put that out there, that we need to be supporting the independent filmmakers and the independent theater producers and the independent artists and the people that are telling our stories authentically. Let's mention that, I know my camera just went out. It'll come back in a minute. Regina King, One Night in Miami. That's on Amazon Prime.
I believe so.
Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
So if you have Amazon Prime, make sure you watch the movie.
Judas and the Black Messiah is on HBO Max. Right.
I don't know if that was independent though.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know.
But it was a very good movie. If you can tolerate the language.
Okay, I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know.
The Black Messiah was an amazing movie, and you should watch it. And it tells the story of the Black Panthers and Fred Hampton Jr. And once again, it was just amazing how the FBI set people up to basically be assassinated. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but once again, it goes to
really watch that movie. Also, The Road to Truth is on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
Children of the Arts film with Sharon, produced by Sharon Reeves Battle. That is on, I hope I said that right, it's on Amazon Prime. You need to watch The Road to Truth.
And keep an eye out too for African American women in cinema. A lot of times they feature short films by African American women, and some of them are excellent.
And African American Women in Cinema is having an educational series the last Friday of every month. This Friday is Acting 101. So I've posted it a number of places. Make sure that you tune in and be a part of the educational series of African American Women in Cinema, an amazing organization, founder Tara Renee. They're doing amazing things. And so please support and look out for African American women in cinema, telling our stories, our voices, our stories. And that's what we need.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have anything else you want to say before we close?
No, I don't think so. I think we've had a very interesting conversation about colorism in Hollywood, and we just need to continue to support each other and, you know, fight the good fight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to remind everyone, I posted in the comments, I have a workshop coming up, From Pain to Prose, where we're going to do spoken word and some writing and some prose. And it's going to be really amazing. Spoken word, From Pain to Prose workshop, that's starting March 18th. I also have a workshop starting March 8th, which is Colorism, A Cry for Civility, and overcoming colorism with the civility mindset. Both of those workshops are coming up. We are having a 5-day civility challenge starting March 1st, the week before the workshop. So you can find all of this information at thecolorofbeautiful.com. Please follow us on all of our social media platforms. We are The Color of Beautiful on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. We are Color of BEAUTI, COLOUR BEAUTI. Right? Oh, that's Twitter, man.
Yeah.
That's how we like. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're also The Color of Beautiful on YouTube. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Did I forget anything else?
Yes, you did. Visit our website. You've got merchandise there. You know, sometimes people need to know how beautiful they are and how beautiful you think they are. So
Yeah.
we've got t-shirts, sweatshirts, mugs, tote bags.
All of that.
So, you know, make somebody's day. And you know what? Sometimes you need to remind yourself that you're beautiful.
Yes.
So buy yourself something, you know, and let people know I am the color of beautiful.
Yes.
And don't you forget it.
That's right. That's right. And we're going to end with our family. First, let me say it's The Color of Beautiful, COLOUR, because you are beautiful. Thecolorofbeautiful.com. You can find all of our information there for our courses, our workshops, our product line, and all of that. And we say it loud.
We say it proud. We wear it proud.
Right. Say it loud. We wear it proud. I am the color of beautiful. Be blessed. You guys have an awesome, awesome rest of your day.
Check. Let me talk about our black women real quick. Check. Black on black and beauty's intact. Trust. There's nothing you lack. Nothing can ever sever our soul ties when we together. You my ride or die, girl. Forever, ever. Forever, ever can fly in any weather. Black, intelligent, smart, and clever, full of grace and honor. How dare we ponder? Your strength make a black man's heart grow fonder. Protect our black queen at any cost. See, without the black queen, we catch a lost bee. Taking L's from left to right, vision blurred, but with the black queen, we elevate. You heard? Honey, caramel, hazelnut, bronze, chocolate, milk, all shades, no cons. Skin absorbing all the sun, so much melanin. Love the color of your beauty and the light within. Concept, baby.
Concepts, you said it right. I am beautiful in God's sight. Don't you know I am Mother Earth? Everything black and beautiful I have birthed. Let's review my history. Something is steeped in mystery. Royal blood runs through my veins. I have carried my people's pains. I am dark like a night in Tunisia. I possess power and wealth like the Queen of Sheba. Naya, Kim, Cynthia, Viola, Kadia, Zozabini, Gabrielle, Beverly, Issa, from Africa, India, America, Jamaica. Dark beauty runs across the world, make no mistake, beautiful mind and beautiful skin. The peace and power that come from within. Don't you feel the pull? We are the color of beautiful.
Made in this image, a mirror in its reflection. Black and beautiful, my shortcomings, this is perfections. Addicted to this spoil and methodless while they toil. On the clouds, I'm in crave. Homage to my people who fight to be equal.
Beautiful.